Hello, hello. This is Kristina, your host today, and almost this new year, 2026. And my dear audience, today I really have such a pleasure, and I'm so honored to host, to have my special guest speaker, Kaz Waters, far away from Australia, and I'm really excited today. Kaz, welcome to the new episode of KSM Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Christina. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. It's such a pleasure to have you today, and thank you for your time to join. It's a really pleasure. And Kaz, tell us a little bit about you,
Oh gosh, where to start? So,
who you
a little,
are, what you do.
yeah, absolutely. Like who I am, like that's a very global question in the world. But what I do is I work as a clinical EFT practitioner. I am an advanced clinical EFT practitioner. I also work as an advanced human design guide. So I've blended those two modalities and come up with a program and I guess a modality that I call EFT by design, um, and work with people through their conditioning of patterns and whatever not. So who I am, I'm just a human being out there trying to do my absolute best for people. In my lifetime, I have been a nurse for over 20 years. I'm a mother. I have grandchildren. Obviously, I have a partner. I have a stepdaughter. So life is very, very full.
Oh, dear Kaz, you're a really amazing person and really have a fulfillment in your life, you know. So,
Mm,
uh, in the podcast, KSM Podcast, Going Business Online, Christina is so dedicated to business owners, to small
mm,
business owners, leaders, managers, and all people who wanted to start business online or who wanted to spread the word about their business because the KSM Podcast is global. And as I said, you're from Australia. So can you share with us what a little bit about your background and what, as you mentioned that that you were a nurse or still an EFT practitioner, but what
yeah.
triggered you to do what you do now, like to be a clinical EFT practitioner?
Yeah, awesome. So, oh gosh, where to start on that one? So I guess EFT, if we're going to keep it, sorry, I keep on getting my computer's telling me that I need to update stuff. So I'm just going to tell it not now. I apologize. Um, for EFT specifically, it first came across my path in 2009. I was a singer and songwriter in a former life, and I had my tonsils out when I was 30, which caused a lot of what they call muscle tension dysphonia in my vocal cords. So I had singing lessons to try and correct it. I had speech pathology lessons because I actually couldn't speak for a good 6 months, which is really interesting because via my human design, I have a defined throat center, and I can talk more about that later. But speaking and sharing my wisdom is part of my design and part of my 6-2 profile, which is the 6 is the role model and the 2 is the hermit. And again, we can talk about that later. But the role model part of that is to be able to share, is to be able to help people through the sharing of stories, through being a storyteller, which is what the singer songwriter part of it. So to have that part of my physical structure be shut down was really quite difficult. So I had singing lessons, and one of my singing teachers was like, I think this might help you. And she handed me an A4 sheet of paper which had the basic recipe for EFT on it. So I worked through that and I did find some relief from that, but I didn't quite understand it mentally. I wasn't there to understand what was just handed to me, like the gold that was just handed to me on a sheet of paper. So it got tucked away. And then in 2013, after some really distressing, I'll call it, relationships, I um, went and learnt NLP with Your Future Now down in Sydney. And within that program was, I think it was about 4 hours on EFT, and we were given Gary Craig's original manual for EFT. And so I started to like work through that a little bit more and work with it a little bit more. And Gary Craig's original recipe included things what they call the night gamut points, which has us tapping on our thumbs, our fingers, and looking down to the left, looking down to the right, humming, counting forwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, backwards, 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. So that nine gamut point was complex, but it was part of the original EFT sequence. So that eventually got, I guess, sidebarred for me, and life continued to happen, and lots of things continued to happen. And my nursing career, I was an ICU nurse, as well as an agency nurse. So I worked on medical wards, surgical wards, orthopedic wards. Worked all over Australia.
And
Um,
is it hard to be a nurse when you
yes,
work with
there is
different
burnout.
people with
Yeah,
different areas of illness, or you must have
absolutely.
such amazing experience. I mean,
Yeah, I think that was the nursing definitely came with its challenges. I actually went to university to study music.
Mm.
And when I rang my mum to tell her what I was doing, she's like, "Oh, look, why don't you do your nursing degree?" I was with my ex-husband at the time and had three stepchildren before I had my own. So having a career was definitely something that my mum, coming from a place of love, was wanting me to make sure that I had, financial stability. And I guess for them, they just did not understand that artistry could also bring about, finances could also bring about a lifestyle and an income. So, hence doing the nursing. And I think throughout that, being a single mum, because my kids' father and I divorced when they were young, I'll just silence that. Um, and nursing when you're a single parent without a support structure around you is quite tricky. Nursing shifts start at 7 and they finish at roughly about 3:30 here in Australia, to, give or take a half an hour. Or you've got afternoon shift, which finishes anywhere between 10:30 and 11 at night, and then you've got night shift. So when you've got two small children in an area where you don't have support system, and at a time where before and after school care didn't start until 7:30, when you're already half an hour into a shift, it made it really, really tricky to try and do that. So my kids ended up being in daycare mum situations for a long period of time after I graduated. So that was hard on them. It was hard on me. My daughter started calling another daycare mum, and I was the other lady. So that was quite heartbreaking. So I started to pile on all of these emotional things. Like I hadn't dealt with my family life. I hadn't dealt with my divorce. There was a lot of things that I hadn't dealt with because I wasn't shown growing up how to deal with emotions. Emotions were things that if you weren't happy, then you don't show emotions. Stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Or, anger, then go to your room if you're going to be angry. Like there was punishment for the emotions that we had. So as a mother and a nurse, trying to raise children and be with people and trying to keep it all together was actually quite overwhelming. So when we fast forward to 2013, when I took myself to learn NLP and start to learn different ways of being, and I did other trainings as well throughout my lifetime. Landmark, I did a whole heap of other stuff just to try and come about and learn. And they were great when you're learning about your ways of being, but when your nervous system does not feel safe, and when you've got code blacks going, which we did as a mental health nurse the last 10 years of my life. So when you have code blacks and you have high risk situations where either other patients are being assaulted, or like me myself, I have been assaulted, unfortunately. So it just, that pile on top of a nervous system, on top of a nervous system, and then you chuck another coercive control relationship in on top of that, and I was literally at breaking point. And then throw COVID on top of that. So Now we're separated from everybody. When I was working in the COVID ward here in Tasmania, we weren't allowed to interact with the other hospital staff. It was mainly, yeah, so there was, mainly agency nurses that had the ward once we'd taken it to Latrobe, and then we had a few original nurses from Latrobe Hospital that came in, but there was lots of separation. I'd come to Tasmania and left my 19-year-old son in in Newcastle. So that was on my mind, the fact that he was up there alone. And at one point, I'd asked my daughter and her partner if they could go and move in with him because I just didn't get a good vibe about what was going on for him. Again, more emotion. And it was just literally at breaking point. So I found myself one day in a situation in a relationship where I was, tapping on my collarbone point like this and, just feeling whatever was going on, just trying to keep myself grounded. And, he was saying, oh, look at you, tapping on your chest again. Like, yeah, there you go, tapping on your chest again. And when I got back to my place, I was like, hang on a minute, I'm tapping. What was that thing? What was that thing that we did in NLP? That was EFT. Let me go and have a look at that again. So I pulled up Gary Craig's original manual and I was reading through that. And then a couple of days later, something else about EFT came up. So I was like, okay, I'm being pulled back into EFT. Like guides are pulling me back to EFT. So I looked up EFT online where I could learn it, literally just so that I could work with it for myself, and ended up signing into not only learning EFT, but becoming a practitioner of EFT toward the end, which was only a decision that I made while I was in the program because I really was just trying to learn the EFT so that I could have something at my fingertips that I could do myself when I was feeling these ways so I could work through things. I didn't have a good experience with psychologists over my time. I think the first psychologist I ever saw and the only psychologist I ever saw.
And I have a question for you.
Yeah, go.
How did you when you started learning NLP? How did NLP help you? Like, and after that, you realized that you can that you're going to tap 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 and see that's something why like a vibrations, that you feel something good. So did you feel that NLP, did you see that NLP when you started for yourself to do it, like after nursing and being nurse, just did NLP help you to open your eyes or to change something like a mindset shifting or something like that? Just for the audience, because I like NLP as well, and because of that, I just wanted to share your experience with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I say, like my first experience with the psychologist was he gave me a book, or she gave me a book, The Happiness Trap, and that was it. I had to read through that. It didn't help me. Well, at that time, but NLP, when I went to learn that, helped me so much when it came to reframing things. Like I was stuck definitely in negative looping. Again, when you're not taught how to work with your emotions or work with your languaging, and when you have languaging shut down, like when you are trying to speak your truth and that is constantly shut down, relearning how to reframe things that are within your internal dialogue as well as how you speak with others and listening. I think that was the big thing, was just listening to how others spoke to me. What words did they use, which kind of indicated to me, were they an auditory, were they visual, were they kinesthetic, were they a combination of some of those, so that I could then communicate a little bit better with them. And it did improve the communication, especially with my kids, because that was the big driver for me. Like I wanted to be able to work with myself better, and not from an egotistical point of view either, but because I wanted to be a better parent. I wanted to be better for my kids. But even wanting to be better for your kids, you, it still comes back to you need to have to want to be better for yourself because then your kids will benefit and so will everybody around you. So NLP, we used timeline therapy, which was great. Like I had some really great experiences with timeline therapy, and there's a little bit of that within EFT. But the difference being is that we in EFT and NLP, in EFT, we don't necessarily have to speak about what that issue was. Like when in NLP, when we're doing timeline, when was the first instance that you remember feeling that way, or is there an event that you can think of where this was an issue? So in NLP, we would look at the event, we take ourselves up above the event, I'm sorry, before the event, and if somebody was having a traumatic response to looking at that, because the whole idea is you want to separate from the event, especially if it's traumatic and see yourself and all the rest of it. But, you might raise or have somebody go higher and higher and higher so that the event becomes like the size of a pin dot, right? At the ground, they're looking at it from that size of a pin dot, so that you can insert the new learnings from that higher place, right? Very Ericksonian in its modality. And then you come down and then you apply that to all of the events past that. And that can work on generational stuff as well. So you can definitely do generational bits and pieces when it comes to timeline therapy. With EFT, you don't have to have them talk about what's going on, which is what I think is absolutely amazing. So, that can just be that, that movie technique where they've just got it in their mind and they can dial into an aspect of that. For me, when I dialed into an aspect on a traumatic event, it was just the color red. So, and we worked on what that color red meant in that moment. So there's no talking about it. We were just like, red, this red, this red. And we just worked through that, calming the nervous system, because I think that's the big difference here between NLP and EFT is that, and remember, not remember because I haven't even shared that bit, but the Mindset Medic was born out of the work that I did in NLP, because it was all about, triaging somebody's mindset and then applying what I would call mindset first aid to that, and then working through like the acute phases of anything that they've got with that. But with EFT, we're going deeper with that. And that's what I love about it and that's why I think the mindset stuff didn't land so much for me, because my nervous system wasn't ready. My nervous system was still on high alert. And I think this is the beauty of the work that has been done with researchers. Gosh, you've got Dawson Church, you've got Dr. Peter Stapleton here in Australia, you've got the Ortner siblings, David Feinstein, Donna Eden, all of these people who are at the forefront and the frontiers, but not to mention Gary Craig for it, can I just, who were able to discern that if the nervous system does not feel safe, changes won't occur. You need to have the nervous system feeling safe in order for all of the other stuff that you're doing to land. Otherwise, the nervous system is just going to continue protecting and guarding and keeping things at bay for the sake of keeping you safe. Because that's what all of it is. All of our patterning and our machinery and all of our ways of thinking, it literally is just to keep us safe. Some people might call it maladaptive coping mechanisms or whatever not, but it literally is to keep you safe.
And what you mentioned before is that you went like a step by step from nursing background and then moved to the NLP, shifted your mindset,
Mm.
and then EFT, and now you're EFT clinical practitioner. So,
Mm.
can you share with us how do you help people and who do you mostly help? Who are your clients? Just for our
Yeah.
audience, and how they feel after working with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, being a 6'2" profile in human design, that's the role model, right? So typically to role model to somebody, you have to have had the lived
And
experience.
before you go to the dive
Yeah.
deep in, can you share with us about what is human design?
Oh, yeah. Human
In some
design.
way, yeah, how do you see that? How do you connect with that? Just for me, there are people who don't understand what is it. You can just like not give definition, but also from your experience, how we
Mm.
can design ourselves as a human, and also I think that we can connect that with EFT in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, human design is a modality that was brought by I'm going to stumble on his name because I always start do Ra Hauru, and I apologize to him immensely for
It's
messing that up.
it's good, no worries about it. Thank you for sharing that.
But so he is the I'm going to say the channel for human design. It came to him um, over a number of days, and what came to him was blending the Chinese I Ching, the astrology, the chakra systems, the Kabbalah, and quantum.
I can
So
find, we can find, I will share his name below this episode.
yeah,
So
that would be amazing if
listeners
we
can
could.
him on internet. So videos, however.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're interested in learning the origins of it, then that is definitely his name. And so what he created was basically, or what he channeled was the energetic blueprint of people. So we know, I guess the easiest way for your listeners, especially being business listeners, they might be familiar with Myers-Briggs, the personality, just like disc personality,
It
or
could be. It could
so
be.
yeah, these personality traits that we might have. Disc is something that I learned when I was doing NLP. So um, having it's a very, I'm going to say a modern version of that, but it's deeper than that. It brings in those astrology elements. It brings in those influences of energy, because we are energy at our fundamental being, energy, frequency, vibration. So to work with that and have the types, so you've got projector, generator, manifester, manifesting generator, which is what I am, and reflector. So they're the types within human design. And each of those types then can have strategies on authority. Well, they do have strategies on authorities and profiles, and then there are gates and there are channels and there are hanging gates. So it's quite a beautiful system. And what it helps us do is to look at where we can actually align our energy so that we can live authentically to our energy. And that is, I think, what, for somebody who's been a burnt out nurse, right, doing nursing, which is completely against what my energy has me be. So even the earth artistry is what comes out for me in my energy, being a teacher, which is part of that role model 6'2" profile, understanding that the 2 in my profile, which is the hermit, needs to withdraw to recharge and then step out again, knowing that my sacral, like my authority, is emotional, like it is sacral. So to ride that emotional wave, like I have made so many decisions in my life high on the wave of emotion, the wave falls back, and I'm like, oh crap, I've made the wrong decision because I haven't ridden out the emotional wave to see whether or not that actually is the decision that's right for me. So,
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah. Thank you
so
for
it,
sharing that. It's amazing,
yeah.
really, especially when you mention human design. And my question for you is, do listeners or can listeners find, as you mentioned, blueprint? Is it
Mhm.
present somewhere on YouTube channel that maybe they can just experience that, or just for all your audience, you can connect with Kaz and she can help you just to move you forward in terms to
Yeah.
help you in creating that human design for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website will have they can put in their birth details into a little widget, let's call it, on my website, and that will give them a blueprint. And it's one thing to see your blueprint and know it, but working with a practitioner, like a human design practitioner, is how you then can learn to start to decode it, how you can then apply your blueprint to
And
your
do
life.
you, in your work as
Yeah.
a clinical EFT practitioner, do you also help your clients to create for them that uh, just using human design in terms to help them to move forward, either the business owners or in professionals? I mean, just
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I melded them together. Like having been an EFT practitioner first and then a human design practitioner, it was a no-brainer, as we would say here, to merge the two because the human design is that blueprint. It's you're able to define what your conditioning has been and decondition that by using EFT because I think that is one of the big
and do
things.
you need to, as a human design practitioner, when you work with your clients, do you need
Mm.
first to start with that creation of human design for that client, and after that, merge and add like EFT mm, practice with them?
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. So yeah, what we do is we will go through, and especially if somebody has come to me for EFT by design, and that's a really, I guess, important discerning point with me, Christina, because I can do just EFT. If people are like, human design sounds way too woo-woo for me, I'm not going there. I just want the EFT. Then absolutely, we can definitely just do the EFT. And if people are like, I don't believe tapping on my face is going to help me with anything, I just want to do the human design, then we can just do the human design component of things. Where I find the magic happens is when we blend the two. Because again, it comes back to what I was saying about the nervous system feeling safe. You can find all of the deconditioning practices and you can find what your patterns are and you can do all of the stuff. That's what we do with NLP, right? But if you're not bringing safety to the nervous system, then everything that you learn may have an effect, but I don't believe that it's going to land until that nervous system feels safe, right? Which is how that applies to business. Because if you're trying to grow your business, but you keep on hitting bumps with the growth or your visibility or your income, then the key point with that is that the growth expands the nervous system before it expands the income. That's the whole idea. Like, so let's expand the nervous system so that it feels safe to receive the income, to receive the extra referrals, whatever it is that you're doing within your business. So as income and visibility grow, old survival responses will start to surface. Yeah. So it's like, I'm not good enough, might be something. So, or I have to work really hard to make money. So you end up with people in business that are just like, they're going 16 hours a day, all day, and they don't need to. Or they could be working completely against their energy. Say they're a projector and they're going really, really hard, trying to initiate and do all of the things when that is not what their energy is there for. They are big picture people and they work well as leaders and whatever not, and especially if they can work with like the generators or the manifesting generators who will get the job done for them, who have the energy to do that, right? Because that's part of their energy system. Yes, they need to rest, but the projector, they have that big picture. They love, manual labor for my partner's a projector and he's also a stonemason. Now, while he loves working with stone, working Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, lifting heavy stone, doing projects, and that are sometimes repetitive for him, it tires him. He gets really tired and worn out with that. So he's like, it's not like he doesn't want to put his hand on stone ever again because he's actually quite creative. But putting his hand on stone in the way that he's doing it now drains his energy.
Yes, of course. And when you mention for professionals that we need to have just all to prepare our mind and to have nervous system to be so prepared
Mm.
that we can get income or change job or start new business, whatever. And
Yeah.
I was so shy in front of camera, and when we're talking about visibility, I just wanted to mention my experience. And when I
Yeah.
do challenge, it was 21-day challenge, and in that way I started creating 15 videos and talk about on different topics from in the area of digital marketing. And also I hosted 4 ladies. In that time, it was Prom Entrepreneur Day. It's calling like this. It was on Friday. And I
Yeah.
also do that. I've done that in my Facebook group. And after that, I realized because I really like to speak, either that English is my second language, and
Mm.
I'm not more fluent in English. That's so true. And
Yeah.
uh, and I saw that I was stretching my nerving system.
Yeah.
And then I feel comfortable now. So either that
Yeah.
I'm start my KSM podcast and I create and start creation and design, and this is what I wanted to. In that time, I didn't, but I was working on that, and I just like
Mm.
click on it and say, okay, I like to do this. And now
Yeah.
I know how many people I hosted and entrepreneurs from Australia, from all around. I go global, and now I can never imagine that it's 4 years, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026 as top 20, top best, 20 best podcasts on the web to listen to and to follow in category of online business by FeedSpot. And this is something which I'm super excited with that, just because I have such amazing speakers, such amazing entrepreneurs as you are, like you and many, many of them before and who will come, just to share their stories, to share what they do, to share their experience. And thank you for joining today. I'm so excited. I just wanted to share a little bit about that, just to connect with your topic about human
Yeah.
design, about that we need just to be so prepared for that, to be in that position to start something new, that we are good enough. That
Yeah, it's the yes, you are good enough. Yes, it's you can have whatever it is that you want to have. You're worthy of that. It's addressing, and that's I think where I love and where I sort of maybe become passionate and where it's just like blah about that is that we get to work with what is it that's self-sabotaging, right? What is holding you back? What is it that, you mentioned before about stretching your nervous system to a point where it was just like, imagine being able to discover new things. And yes, having some stretching and some discomfort, because I think that, Kristina, was a really good point to make, was that some people believe that this is just going, like starting a business is either going to be easy or hard. And if it's too hard, I'm going to like pack it in. And what Gary Craig said, unfortunately, Gary passed away in January this year. But as when he passed, one of his things was he just wants people to understand that the discomfort is where the magic happens, and that EFT can help work through that discomfort so that you can step into that next version of yourself. Because while ever you're staying in that comfort, there's no growth in that. You'll have the same results, the same problems, the same like self-sabotaging mechanisms will just keep occurring. So if you can work through that discomfort, work through that nervous system stretch by using EFT and understanding your human design and what energetically is playing out for you within your human design, then you can bring the tapping onto whatever is blocking you. Does that make sense? So you can start to work through any old survival like response mechanisms that you've got. You can start to feel safe in creating your own business, because for a lot of people, I don't know what it's like over there in Serbia, but in Australia we have PAYG, which is like your income. You go to work, you do a job, and at the end of the fortnight you get paid, and then the government taxes you in that pay and all
Yes,
the
of
rest.
course, we have also that, but we have many freelancers or people who want it, or people who just see that uh, why they should work for a company, or if
Mm.
they can do that for themselves and be
And
business
look,
owners and entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, or that's like it's very in developed areas like a women entrepreneurship. That's so that just a woman could be a mother and and entrepreneur and everything. So that's a little bit different than man, because mother is mother, so
yeah.
she has a lot of to do.
Absolutely. And look, I have attempted to be a business owner many times in my life. Many times. I have had MLM businesses. Like I still work with one of them because I love essential oils, but I have had an online organic gift hamper business. I have had a mobile massage business because I also do body work. I do myofascial release. Again, myofascia, that's where trauma can be trapped, as we know. Um, what else have I done? Oh my gosh, so many different things. But that is part of my managing or manifesting generator energy, is we have lots of different projects. I've been a touring musician, a songwriter. Gosh, like there's been a lot that I have done over my lifetime, but I did not know how much my sabotaging, like self-sabotaging beliefs were coming into that. Like part of stopping being a musician, and especially being a touring musician, was how I perceived the impact of that on my children. I did 2 tours of Ireland 10, 11 years ago, and I did that for a month at a time. And to see, like, for me, to see the impact. Now, I didn't ask my children what the impact was for them at that point in time. I just perceived it because, again, emotions weren't safe to talk about, right? So I made that mean that I can't be a musician because it impacts my children in one way or another, of which I don't understand because I haven't asked the question, right? To now doing this work with people so that they can realize what their self-sabotaging beliefs are. Like having a business does not necessarily mean that you have to work 18 hours a day, which was one of my stories and why business would never work. Like business had to be hard. You had to work hard to get money. So that translated in my business. If I wasn't working hard, then business wasn't going to be successful because I wasn't working hard. I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. I'm not, putting the hours in. I'm not sweating. I'm not, like all of the stuff, right? I don't know if that was how you felt with like
Yeah,
your
I
podcast.
understand. Yeah, I can connect with that. What are you sharing? Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know. And when you come to the place in the field of EFT, can you share with us a little bit? I always talk to my speakers and my guest speakers, special guest speakers. So maybe some kind of, maybe we can start in some way, and let's say like a master class in terms to explain us about that EFT in connection with the clinical and in connection for professionals, how the
Yeah.
people and entrepreneurs, and it's much more for audience that can connect with that. And then this
Mm.
episode can help our audience to move forward and think about nervous system and think about themselves and then human design and everything.
Yeah, beautiful. So EFT, and I probably should have started that with that at the beginning of the episode, so my apologies, but EFT is emotional freedom techniques. That's what that stands for. And essentially, if I was to put it in one or two sentences, it is blending modern day psychology with traditional Chinese acupressure, but without the needles. Right. So what we're doing when we're tapping, so we start on the side of the hand. I might as well go there and just teach people what it is, because some people are like, how does tapping on your face help you release anything, right?
Just
So
imagine to think about how they can tapping when they are alone or in front of some people, and they can say, "Okay, what are you doing? I'm tapping."
exactly. And I think this is the really exciting thing about EFT and the work that Dr. Peter Stapleton is doing in her research. And I'm very big on credit where credit is due, because she is doing some amazing work and has. Am I allowed to mention another podcast on here if it's to do with EFT?
Yeah,
It's called the Fourth Wave Podcast. And Peter talks specifically about EFT and the research and how EFT is part of that fourth wave of psychology which is coming through. So we've had Sigmund Freud, we've had, the talk therapies, and now we're working through where somatic body felt like it's coming back to the body. And that is what I was talking about beforehand, about the nervous system that is located within the body feels safe. That is when we can start to work through our stuff, because we can talk and do talk therapy and our nervous system still doesn't feel safe. So what the EFT does on the side of the hand when we're tapping on here, it used to be called the karate chop point in Gary Craig's original method. But when they did the research and whatever not within veterans, they found that was quite triggering, calling it the karate chop point. So they call it the side of hand point now. So we use this point to start with a setup statement. And in EFT, it's different to some other therapies because we actually talk about the problem, right? In NLP, we reframe things. And this, you asked me earlier in the podcast about the difference between NLP and EFT. And in NLP, we're constantly trying to reframe so that we're not speaking about the problem. Yeah. So in EFT, we are speaking about the problem, but we're speaking about it from a place of truth, because that's what we're feeling right now. So even though I have this feeling, and then we're bringing a level of acceptance to that truth, right? So it's, even though I have this feeling, I choose to deeply and completely accept myself, or love and accept myself, or there can be some other tail endings of that setup statement. And we repeat that 3 times. And what that does is it helps to remove what we call a psychological reversal. The other thing that you might call that would be a secondary gain. So sometimes, as I was talking about before, people might have a self-sabotaging pattern, but they have that because it helps keep them safe, and that's the secondary gain. So even though if we're talking about business, like even though I don't believe I am going to be successful in having a podcast, I truly deeply accept that this is how I feel right now. And it could be that even though I don't believe I can make money as a single mother in a business, I'm choosing to deeply and completely love and accept that that's how I feel right now. And it could be, even though I, feel this churning in my stomach when I think about stepping out and having a business of my own and I get all tense in my shoulders, I'm choosing to deeply and completely accept that this is just how I feel right now. And maybe I'm open to experiencing something new. So there we have a setup statement. And we're prepping that nervous system for what would then be the rounds, where we start on the eyebrow point and we would have what's called a reminder phrase. And if we were to use your podcast, Kristina, as an example, like this podcast, this is your reminder phrase, like stepping out into this podcast. Like I'm starting a podcast and it's freaking me out. Like this podcast, like it's really stretching my nervous system. Starting this podcast, it's like, it's really uncomfortable. Starting this podcast, like who's going to want to listen to what I have to say? Starting this podcast, who's going to want to be on my podcast? Like, how do I even find people to be on my podcast? Like, oh my God, this podcast, like it actually is going to mean that I'm going to be visible. Holy crap. So that would be a round of tapping. And what we're doing when we're tapping on these specific points, and this is where clinical EFT gets its name, because this is where the research is done, right? So that's why it's called clinical EFT, because these points that I've just showed you are the points that have been researched most recently. You'll notice I didn't go to my finger or my thumbs, and I didn't do the gamut point, and I didn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or anything, which was what was in Gary's original recipe. Because when they did the research, they found that these points that we've just done are very effective. And so that's where clinical EFT gets its name from.
And do we can we find some kind of let's say workbook or some like ebook about that clinical EFT? I mean that area is, I think it's very present in Australia, I mean, or some other countries, but come maybe for listeners or people who want to, I also highly recommend for you all listeners to connect with Kaz. She can help you and move you forward and show you what you want to get to know more about EFT and human design, but also maybe there is something that people can find, like to read about that clinical EFT with some practitioner side, that they can start with something.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they go to my website, I actually have a ebook, a free ebook on EFT. It's called Discover the Power of EFT with Kaz Waters. Sorry, fellas, it's pink, but just you're open. Like you might, and that's the thing. I guess like the people that I work with are predominantly women, but I do work with men as well. So a lot of my marketing is formulated
And
for
one
women.
question also, do you work like an offline and online?
So in person, I do have
In
clients
person.
within in person, so I can do that absolutely. So we come to my home office and we do that here. I
But
find
you
that
do, I think so, also online because you can go global.
absolutely. Do you know the crazy thing? So yes, I do go global, and yes, I've spoken to people had people with that live in Arizona and New Zealand and in the Philippines and Indonesia. But the crazy thing is that one of my clients literally lives around the block, and we still do it online. So it's it's just whatever people feel is comfortable for them. Doing it online allows people to be able to block out that hour. If it's EFT by design, it's 90 minutes. But it gives them that ability to be able to have that time frame and then continue on with their day or night, whichever way it works out for them.
That's good, really, And
Yeah.
after working with you, how do they feel? How do they resolve their problems? In
Yeah.
Once your client come to you, your clients, what are their problems? For example, just like some example, just for people, maybe business problem, health issue,
Yeah.
health problem, or marriage, or you know, problem with kids, or or
Yeah.
especially in terms of business part. Like I'm so interested about business part because podcast
Yeah.
is so dedicated to business owners.
Well, let's start there. Okay, let's start with business side of things. So EFT by design can definitely help build businesses that fit people's bodies, that fit their energy system and not just their ambition. So if you are, like, for example, my partner who's a stonemason, if it was his ambition to continue being a stonemason, then we would work with his human design and with EFT to find out what are other options for him to be able to continue being a stonemason, but by honoring his unique energy type. And so that would be the same for somebody who's a coach who or a teacher who might be, working currently against their human design, or even in business or a podcast. It's about understanding what your design is and how to work within that so that you can have longevity within your business. And then obviously we bring tapping to that to clear whatever is not feeling safe within that so that it can land within the nervous system and that you can be open to receiving what it is that you're wanting to bring to you.
Amazing. It's very, very interesting and very
Mm.
beneficial and very valid because just thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think that it's going to be so helpful to business owners, leaders, managers, consultants to
Really, because
stretch their mind nerves nerving system to change something in their life or to have much more opportunities and bigger picture about something what they need, that there are people who want to be much more worthy, not just like to have just an imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. So
yeah,
we
and
can
that's exactly
always
like
hear that about
yeah,
that.
definitely. Because I've definitely had people in my office who have felt burnt out in the job that they're doing, but they love the work that they do, and they had interviews coming up, and it was just like they came in saying, "I can't go into the interview next week with this energy that I've got. Like I'm ready. Like I'm something needs to change." Because these same instances keep coming to me, and I know that that's not how it's supposed to be. Like, so we did that. We worked on that, and it's interesting because in EFT as well, the problem is never the problem. If I can say that, like when somebody comes to you or to me with an issue that they have, we call it like a table, right? So the issue that they come in with is the top of the table. And underneath that table, we have all of these supporting legs. And each of those legs is an event, is a situation, is a belief that is holding up that problem. The problem is just that's what they come in with. But then once we start working on the problem, the legs, it's like lifting the tablecloth, right? You lift the tablecloth and you start to see the legs that are holding up the table. And so we start to tap on those. And once you start clearing or, clearing a leg away, if clear enough legs away or the main leg away that's holding up everything, and the table collapses. So the problem's no longer there.
So, but you need to have more legs to be stable
Well,
and resolve problem.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we think we need more legs to keep the problem up, right? To keep the problem stable. But sometimes it's like if we can just work through and understand that we might not want the table, right? The table is just, that's just an
But
analogy.
I also think about that we can have more legs to be stable with no problem, just to be stable with success after
Oh,
using
absolutely.
EFT.
Well, that's definitely it. We can definitely reverse engineer the table. That's exactly it. And to have it be what we want it to be. It's just having that problem being whatever that problem is, that, hey, let's collapse what's holding that problem up, because it's literally not what you probably think it is.
And when you do that, I think that that problem is so smaller and smaller.
Yeah. And if I can share
It's a
something that
big
happened to me.
when someone come to you and they go, "Oh, I have such a big problem. I don't know how to resolve it." But
Mm,
when they deal with that, I think that that energy is shifting, and in that
mm,
way, you do that tapping. You can just think about that. Change your mindset about it. Just change your nerving system and
yeah.
be much more acceptable for that, for
Yeah,
receiving.
absolutely. Exactly. And the problem could be that, you're just not getting like something as simple as clients. Like I'm not getting any clients coming through. So, okay, well, let's have a look at that. What does getting clients mean for you? What does, and there'd be a whole heap of questions that we would ask, in and around that. And the other thing with EFT as well is that we really want to feel into the body. So if you're not getting enough clients, what does that actually mean for you? Where do you feel that? How's it showing up? It could be that they feel like this anxiety potentially in their chest. It's like maybe there's a tightness in their shoulders or into their neck. And when we tap through that, what we actually find out is that it's not about the clients, it's what the clients represent. And that clientele represents income, and income represents stability. Income represents being able to take your family to dinner or to buy groceries at a really basic human needs level, to pay for, your rent. Having been a person who had been homeless with her children for, I think it was like 5 months, having clients or having the ability to work or be, that was high on my agenda. Like I needed income to be able to pay for basic human needs such as shelter. So the problem of I can't get clients is never really the problem. It's about what it represents and what's holding that up.
And this is something what we think, but when we slow down and narrow it, we can see with different and from different angle the same
Different
problem.
angles. Yeah, with different angles, and we can actually find out what that problem is here to show us. As we
Mm.
enter the ending of the year of the snake, which is coming up. It's
And
about
you
sharing all of that
and you
stuff.
know that there are many people today that they are really struggling with clients because it's not like we can say some competition, but I always wanted to attract competition to work together. But also I think that this is this this is going to be so helpful to for audience, just that they can think about we all work, and what we do, we need to get clients to serve them, to resolve their
It's
pain points.
mm,
But also we need to get in. Yeah, and people say come to me and say, okay, I know some of my online, you can say, friends, but you can say, okay, I do that, I start my new coaching, but I don't have any clients, and this is going to be like she said, okay, my husband, and he works, so but this is no way, because when you start with something, and I have such an experience with that, with people that they don't have clients, just and they just they wanted to, how we can say, get back on track, like they just want to, how I can say, stop that, and they don't want to do that. And because I don't have clients, or people say like this, okay, I posted everywhere, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, but no one react. And I always say to them, if you have many, many likes, it doesn't mean what that person liked that. You say just, I
Mm,
love that, I like that picture, I like that word, I like that. But it doesn't mean that that person who liked your post will be your client. And people always just, I see from my experience with my clients that they just get back, like they just, um, in terms to, no one come to me, they can say. They say that, but you need to maybe to shift something and say, okay, how I can build a relationship, or this is a way how to connect with right people, because we cannot serve everyone. And maybe
mm,
we are with wrong audience, or we are with wrong, it doesn't mean that people will come. But, and I said, if you wanted to build visibility, you are going to be present more on many, that people can see your expertise, that you're a right person. But it doesn't
mm.
mean that those people will buy from you immediately, because they need to get to know you, who you are.
Yeah,
They wanted
yeah. Look, I,
to react on that. They wanted to have some discovery session call, start exchanging something, and then, because no one can start, because how many Kristinas are in this world, or, and always why people wanted to work with me, not for other person. So that's pretty.
and I think there's a point that you were talking about competitors, and I challenge the thought process in and around competitors, because if you are being completely true to who you are, and you know who it is that you're here to serve, then those people will come to you, because they're not bugs. They're not necessarily buying your product. They're purchasing you and what it is that you bring. It's the relationship that you create with them that makes the difference. So it's like, and even in that, I think it's, yes, visibility is absolutely imperative to that, so that people do have that opportunity to connect with you. And it's not just about being online, because there was something else that you mentioned within that, was the relationship. So yes, while we might have, and we will be global, like you and I both have global businesses, so we can't necessarily meet the person across the ocean in person every single time, right? I'm hoping one day within this lifetime you and I will get to meet in person, but it's not
That
a
will be
guarantee.
perfect.
That's right. So it's it's not necessarily what's going to be there for absolutely everybody to have this in-person experience. And I think that's what the world is looking for now more than absolutely ever, is this connection. We've been disconnected for such a long period of time, that being able to create a connection with somebody, to have that shared lived experience that says, hey, I see you. Yes, I've been where you are, not bringing your own trauma to the story, right? But to be able to see the person where they have been, and to share your frameworks as a business owner, to be able to share what that looks like, to give that other person hope that they can connect to be able to then step out into the world as their true authentic self, doing what it is that they love to do and what brings them joy. Like that is magic.
Yeah, that is magic, and people really deserve that, to connect on the global level. Thankful to the technology, either that we are not handshake, having handshake, or shaking our hands or whatever, but
Mm,
people just in front of camera can connect, and after that they can move forward and connect in person. Sometimes the
yeah.
world is so small to to
Mm,
to build a business. And this is a way when you build relationship that you believe someone. And what you mentioned before, we, factor like and trust, not just to say that. We
Mm.
really need to, when someone say, okay, Kristina run podcast, and people can come to me, how many, I don't think, I don't, people come to me because this is referral. Many of the
Mm.
speakers were here and they just come to me, as you are as
Mm.
well. Also, if I can, people know what you do and they work with you, your clients, so they say, okay, I have a problem to start on how to get more income, but I really was working with Kaz and she helped me a lot. Maybe go there. Maybe she can give you some advice. Maybe she can give you some tips and start connecting with something. And then from there, you will see if you can work together or not. So that. It doesn't mean that we just see someone, okay, but sometimes when people go, and you maybe also have some experience when you listen someone on YouTube channel
Mm.
or on video, however, Vimeo, wherever, you just think that you know that person for years because you see body language, you hear voice, you hear that, and mimics and everything. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like they're definitely like I'm so grateful for where technology has brought us and the ability to be able to do what we are doing right now. Like the fact that I'm, on a podcast in Serbia and I've been referred from another global business like the Holistic Bliss magazine. Like what an amazing gift is that to have a magazine even that's online that people can reach all over the world and people.
And I connected with magazine and Vanessa, like just to go on Instagram,
Mm.
and I'm present on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, but also there are different people, so you cannot always manage everything. But as a digital
No.
marketing consultant coach, I really need to be present all those three platforms. And
Yeah.
when I put something like that, we started like that conversation. It was lovely, And
Mm.
also, she was my guest speaker. It was maybe 2 years ago now. I'm not sure. But also, she always referred to me and say, okay, Kristina, if you wanted to go to the podcast and be more visible, just connect with her. And that is the way that from Holistic Bliss, I have many guest speakers, columnists, and it's really amazing. And now I'm this from this part, I just want to from this place to say big thanks to you, Vanessa, for referring such amazing guest speakers. Thank you again.
Thank you, Vanessa. Absolutely.
And we are
Absolutely.
finally here today, thankful to Vanessa. Vanessa.
Absolutely. And that's that connection though. That's that, meeting people, conversing with people. Like I've been writing with Vanessa for almost 12 months. This February will be my 12th article with Holistic Bliss magazine. Like now with yourself and the podcast and whatever comes of that will come of that, and it's being able to help people, I think, to be able to work through whatever it is that they are working through right now, to be able to have a life that they would like to have is literally where I sit. And I think that's where you sit as well when it comes to their businesses.
Yes,
It's,
and I'm super happy. I also wrote for a few articles for Holistic Bliss magazine about digital
mm,
marketing, about why it's important to run your own podcast and etc. And
mm,
I'm super happy with that. So before we ramp up our podcast, our episode
yeah,
today interview, it was lovely today. Can you share with us how, I will put all links, how audience, how listeners can connect with you on your website? Just tell us about your website and where are you present, your social media.
perfect. So the website is here. So
Yeah.
it's kazwaters.com.au for the website. And you can find how to work with me either with just EFT, with just human design, or with EFT by design. That's all available there on the website. There's lots of freebies on the website for you guys as well, and there'll be more going up in the coming months as well as I start to record bits and pieces for you all. So there'll also be a membership site coming in March, which I'm really excited about. So keep a lookout for that. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook as The Mindset Medic. So type that on in Instagram and on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn, but I'm not very consistent with LinkedIn. I'll just put that out there. And I'm pretty sure that's under Kaz Waters. That is my full name, but people just know me as Kaz. So that's where we went with that. Kaz was my performer name when I was a singer-songwriter. So I just kept them separate, if that makes any sense.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And also before we what will be your message for audience? I always ask my guest speakers before we uh, finish interview, what will be message for people who wanted to start business or who are in stuck or whatever they wanted to do, but they're in stuck, just to give them courage to move them forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of things, and one of them is that EFT can help calm the nervous system so that your business does not feel like a threat. And human design can help build that business that fits your body, as I mentioned before, and not just that ambition that you have. And I think when strategy meets nervous system safety, growth becomes sustainable. And I think that's what everybody is looking for is sustainability with their business. And that begins with them.
Yeah,
Alignment
amazing.
is passive, like it's efficient. Alignment is not passive. It has to be efficient.
Kaz, what to say? I'm so excited to be with you today. Thank you
Yeah, it's been
so,
great.
so very much for joining from the other part of the world.
Yeah,
And I really learned a lot from you today, and I really enjoy hosting you. It's such a
thank
great
you.
experience, and I hope and believe that we will continue doing that, like to maybe
Hmm.
create some series of podcasts of episodes. We will choose some topics, and especially I'm so interested for human design for professionals. This is something which I really wanted to
Yeah.
share.
Well, maybe
That
we
will be
start with you, Kristina. Maybe we start with you and we
yes, of
do
course.
human
Yeah,
design with yourself.
I
So,
would love that. Why not? Because
yeah.
this is going to be my example. If I don't move and people don't
Mm,
take action and do something, how they can share about something, we need to
absolutely.
feel that and to be in that action.
I love that. That's amazing.
Okay, thank you so much, and Kaz, and see you very, very soon. And have a lovely
It's been
day.
amazing. Thank you so much,
Be
Kristina.
blessed.
Be
And bye
blessed.
for now. Thank you. And thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.